store. But for the rest, you don't worry about it. Just hit up their website and check it out. And what is our code, Matt, if people want to
staggered
place
stance?
an order?
So I just used a little chat GPT action, and I just said, hey, what do you know about TitanDiscGolf.com? It said, here. And I said, well, can you write me a 30-second ad read to promote them? And this is what it said. This episode is brought to you by Titan Disc Golf, your one-stop shop for everything disc golf. Now, it made this up. I can't say for sure this is all accurate. I can just simply say ChatGPT says so. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just getting started, Titan's got you covered with discs from all the top brands like Innova, Discraft, MVP, and more. Need a new bag or cart? They've got those too. Plus, trade in your used disc for store credit and keep your bag fresh. Visit TitanDiscGolf.com or stop by their Cedar Rapids or Des Moines locations today. Titan Disc Golf, gear up, throw far, have fun.
Dude, that's awesome. ChatGPT is great.
It did that.
That was such a good ad read.
As Josh, as
I
Josh
didn't know
was
where
talking.
they're located. That's
Dude,
crazy.
As Josh was talking, I was like, give me 30 seconds. Boom. Ben Kenny is here.
Awesome.
And
What
he was
up?
a little late. He said,
I'm
give me
not-
30 seconds because he was working on his hairdo. Tell us about that, Ben.
I was a little late. Had to fix my hair. I'm getting married April 11th, so
Yeah.
I was like, hey, might as well switch it up, go with a new dye it platinum white, and let me know what you guys think in the chat. I'm excited to debut this at my wedding.
Yeah, so for those listening only, which is a lot of you, I don't know how to explain it. But Ben Kenny, in many ways,
He
looks
just said
like
it.
normal Ben Kenny. But then, yeah, platinum white. It's not bushy, but it's like a full-on like mop, like on your head. Is this your real hair?
I straightened it, dyed it a little. Shout out Nick Carl's aunt, Marlene. She owns a salon, so
All right,
there you go.
A little
She always-
Chateau
I'm
Chabot.
just like
A little
Yeah,
Chateau
you know.
Chauffeur.
I know about it
Chateau
too.
Chauffeur.
Yeah.
House of Hair.
Ben, I think it looks great, but I will also say I'm in shock, which is I wasn't sure what was going on. So this
I
is
know.
awesome.
How about I do that
I'm
with
surprised
my
my aunt
beard?
said yes.
Yeah, Matt.
I think that'd be great, Matt.
Are you
Go
wearing like
all gray.
with that hair and like, are you wearing like a white, like full blown like tuxedo for your wedding? That would be like something else.
Yeah, just had to switch it up, put it out. Guys, I appreciate you guys. You guys are so kind. I honestly hate lying. I kind of like I kind of was hesitant there. Like, should I like? But no, obviously, this is not my hair. But shout out Josh. You're so kind. In your head, you're probably like, that is the worst.
I told you I said I'm in
haircut
shock,
of
which
all
means
time.
like at some point I was going to
We're
be
all
like,
calm
So you're
about
We
it.
like-
all,
it's
secretly,
not
we all
bad.
hated it. Using my aunt in the story though, you were pretty elaborate with the
Sold
I
line.
know
it.
that's why I stuttered. I was like, dude, I literally hate lying, but like they gave me the alleyway, but yeah, I had to
I
foil
hate
it.
I hate
It's
lying
all
too.
fun.
I hate lying too, and like that was really hard to say that like your hair looked okay. So,
I actually,
we're
so this is
even.
crazy. My honest opinion was, I was like, dude, I think he can pull it off. So like, that's where I was.
I
at.
was kind of mixed. That's why I said it's fine, but I'm in shock. I couldn't process it, but I'm like, maybe it works.
I love it. Josh said he was lying that he liked it. Let's go. No, I've done this before. Like not this extreme. Like I've dyed my hair like for like 2 years straight, but it was gray.
It
but
wasn't
it was more
platinum.
of like a boy cut. This is
Okay.
this is a
Well,
woman's.
anyway, post listeners, go 6 minutes into the show. Just check it out. You'll see what we're
For what it's worth, I could see that as a mullet. Like if he turned right now and saw a mullet, it'd be legit. Like it'd be super cool. Okay. But in all seriousness, there's a few tech things because Ben jumped in a few seconds late. Can you turn down your gain volume? Like, so maybe it's on the input of your input. Just turn it down a
Yes.
hair because you're coming through a
A
little.
hair, you get it?
turn it on
Turn
hair.
your hair.
Like,
Little
give me a
too
test.
much. Coming in too strong.
You guys
It's
are
on the
bad.
gain level. So where's your input? Your
test,
input.
test.
Your input for the mic is where I'm looking. Probably.
Test.
Keep going. Down.
Hello.
Hello.
Test.
Okay.
Test.
We'll just go with that for now. That's better. And if it's a little quiet, everybody, then we can turn them up on this side. Just let us know. I just want a more quality audio input. So
we're good for at least one Ben Kinney scream per show. So it'll happen.
I wanted to surprise you guys. That's why I was like, just kind of, I didn't want to hop in too early. I was just waiting till the show started. I was like, all right, now's my time.
I'm in the middle of talking about TitanDiscGolf.com, and I'm like, I don't know.
Perfect. So an event happened called MVPs the Open at Austin. I was like, dang, getting that one
presented by Flight Factory.
Yeah. But it's not the MVP Open, it's MVP's Open at Austin. Anyways.
Yeah.
Good stuff for MVP. That was really fun to watch. I don't know, Josh, I think you'll probably break it down for us. We'll do the pop drop lock results right after you do that. So give us a little bit of what happened.
Yeah, so I will give a bit what happened. Nothing fancy, still not gonna do justice to we need to have Evan back on soon for longtime listeners. He always nailed it. But yeah, the Open at Austin, obviously in Austin, Texas. We've been at this event before, but this year we added a course, right? Sprinkle Valley was new this year for the Open at Austin. Yeah. Sprinkle Valley was played by U.S. Women's last year, and boy, that course kind of gave us a doozy, but they were the first 2 rounds. I'm sure we're going to talk about the courses in general with both of, we're going to have Sullivan, Tipton, and Holyn, Handley. So we'll ask them their perspective, and I'm sure we'll have ours. Of course, we'll hone in on hole 18. But even beyond that, just the overall challenge. I think this course threw a lot at the players. In MPO, I think we had, across the 4 rounds, maybe 4 or 5 different players with hot rounds, all coming in at like 12 under, which is pretty interesting. So really a lot of kind of a variety. Kyle Klein up there. We're going to talk about Niklas Antila right up there. A couple other names bouncing around all over the MPO leaderboard. A lot of exciting golf, to be honest, right down to the wire. Literally, I know jumping to the end, but with MPO, 1-hole playoff, sudden death with Niklas. It was a little bit different, but wow, the similarities of like his win last year. So 2-time Open at Austin. He's a 3-time, I believe, right, Pro Tour winner. But 2 of them at Austin and 1 in Europe. I'd have to remember exactly which event that was. But anyway, so congrats to Niklas. I feel like besides the awesome competition, the other discussion is going to be all around the courses. I'll get to FPO in a second, but Nick, Matt, Ben, I did not really cover much stats, didn't even really jump much into the narrative, but just gave an overview. Like, what stood out to you? Like, without you trying to narrate the event.
Besides the whole 18?
Well,
yeah. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We're going to spend some time talking about that later. So
yeah, we are, and I think that even was more pronounced with FPO. Yeah. But honestly, Nick, I would just say, yeah, like what? Don't give me the whole narrative of the event for MPO, but what stood out? Is it Niklas winning back-to-back? Is it the hot rounds? Is it the challenging course? Is that the thing you're remembering about this event? Like, just what stood out to you?
The course in and of itself, I actually thought was super enjoyable to watch. Watching players practice rounds on it, Paul and Ricky's, and then Ezra and Goose's, watching the YouTube videos leading up to the event, and then the event itself on DGN. The courses actually looked really, really fun. And I feel like 2 years ago, when I think that was the first year of Open at Austin, the course didn't look fun. The one course that they played, I don't know, it didn't look great. And so the addition of Sprinkle Valley I thought was awesome because it added a bunch of wooded holes. I thought the difficulty was actually great to see, players struggling. And so that was fun. But yeah, obviously Niklas winning and Holyn winning in pretty awesome fashion, coming down to hole 18 both times in the MPO and FPO division. And then with MPO actually going into a playoff as well. Super entertaining. Definitely was glued to my phone watching the coverage of it for both MPO and FPO. So yeah, it brought an awesome battle. I feel like this was the best year yet at Open at Austin. And so it was really cool to see in that regard.
Windy, and a lot of forehands from every player. It seemed like you needed a strong forehand to play this course well. I mean, it was just over and over, which brings up shout out to Pete Collins, Disc Golf. I love how I get distracted so easy. He'll understand that. Which is why for our pick for Own and Pop Drop Lock, which we're not quite reviewing yet, in just a minute we will. We made those picks last week, and then like a day or two prior, she's on DGN presser, and she's like, I don't want to make fun of her accent, but like, oh no, my elbow, I can't forehand or something. You know, everyone loves Owen and how she says it, like, oh, I'll be just fine. I'll throw my backhands with leopard or something. And so she's like, I can't forehand. And I'm like, horrible pick. Why did I pick her? And then she came out, was leading the event. But you know what? She sprinkled in some forehands. And she definitely, I hope didn't.
She did well.
I hope she didn't like what's the word? Exasperate.
Heard it more.
How do you say that? Exasperate. Wait.
Exasperate.
Anyways.
Exasperate.
So,
Overdo it.
I hope that didn't happen. But I am still impressed with her. I think I made a great pick on it. I know we're not pop, drop, lock, but my point is like the forehands were such a big part of this. One other thing stands out is literally in our sport, torn ACL, an FPO player. So
what?
Haiti Line hole one for the final round, I think. Slipped off the tee pad or however that worked. I didn't watch that. I don't think there's video coverage.
How did I not know about this? What the heck?
But torn ACL. And it's not every day you hear in your sport of disc golf that like, oh, we got a torn ACL.
Sad.
So that's like a big deal actually for her. Huge deal, I would imagine. So anyways, those are some of the things that stood out to me. I'm sure there's more, but that's right off the top of my dome.
Yeah. So FPO, because I didn't really even go fully over that. So Matt, you teased it out, but listen, like Owen Scoggins leading after round 1, Rebecca Cox leading after round 2, Holyn Handley leading after round 3, and Holyn Handley pulls out the win, but only by 1 stroke, which we'll talk a little bit about how that played out. But again, pretty crazy competition. And we keep teasing it because we're going to share more of our opinions. Right now, we barely have time to like get into it to do it justice. But thus, big part of the story when I talk about those 3 different players who led this tournament at various points did not include Kristen Lott, who finished second, and hole 18 just like tore up the field. And I'm so tempted to dive in kind of with my opinions, which maybe are somewhat mixed, but let's steer away.
Sullivan.
I would say let's steer away from literally hole.
I think that'd be interesting. See what he's with Gannon too. So that's
No, I want to. We're gonna hear what other people have to say. So we will get to hole 18. Ignore hole 18 for a moment if possible. Again, Ben, just any other general reactions of like, if I'm like, oh, the Open at Austin 2025, besides hole 18, what stands out to you? Is it like Holyn getting her first win? Is there something else that happened during the event?
What stood out to me, it has to do with Holyn, is I'm pretty sure last year at this event, she played pretty bad for her standards, I should say. I don't know exactly what she finished, but it was not great at all. And in Pop Drop Block, I actually picked her to win, but then I changed it because then I looked at back last year's thing. So I was like, oh, I don't know. The second thing, and this wasn't even on my mind. Someone just said this in the chat. Edwin Stats, our new stat guy. No, I'm just kidding. But he said Discmania for MPO side got the top 3.
I was actually just about to bring that up.
Yeah, we've been seeing a Discraft dominated season so far, team wise. You know who's winning and stuff like that. And Discraft won on the FPO side, obviously, but it was cool to see. I guess Discmania. I feel like Discmania and Discraft are really making grounds, just player wise, and both have a really solid team. So if there was like a manufacturer's cup or something like that, it'd be interesting to see like what the end result is. So it's something to pay attention to somehow.
I think that was going to be one of my other points, was just looking at Discmania for the top 3. Gannon was right there, almost making it into the playoff itself. But then you had Kyle Klein, Nicholas, obviously, and then Discraft on the FPO side. But then obviously Kristen Tatar is going to be what I think is dominant every single event. Doesn't have to be dominant, but she's going to be more than likely in that top 3 category a majority of the events this year. So you always see latitude on the FPO side. But right now we've seen, Discmania, FPO took down the first event of the season. And then, second event was Kristen, third event was Discraft. So in FPO, we're seeing a decent amount of parity right now, kind of between the manufacturers. And then on the MPO side, I know we're only 3 events into the season right now, but it was, great to see Anthony was still on the lead card of the final round representing Discraft, but seeing the 3 Discmania guys too, that's kind of like Ben was just saying, when we talk about the Manufacturers Cup, I think right now Discraft and Discmania have the most stacked teams. I'm a little bit biased. I'd like to put Discraft a little bit above Discmania right now, but at the same time, you got Gannon Bird, Nick Lawson, Kyle Klein. Those are three incredible players. So it's cool to see a little bit of parity right now.
All right. I agree. There's so much to talk about too. I wanted to bring up something, but I think we should do a quick pop drop lock review while we're here. Is that cool? All right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Here we go. I think. So Hooligan Discs sending out prizes to every winner. Shout out. We've been contacting the prize winners, or the event winners of Pop
There
Drop
was a
Lock.
tie this week.
Yeah, it goes to the first person who submitted their picks. That's how it goes. So shout out to the tie, but there you go. That's how you get sure that you're submitting early. Submit early and often.
Yes.
All right, here's points. We're gonna just jump right into points. By the way, to our listeners, there are season-long standings. If you go and check it out, it's pretty cool. Also per event, so we have both right now. It'll tell you what place you are, so you don't have to scroll through hundreds or however many people there are. You can just look at the top. It'll tell you your place, both in the season long. If you click the season right now, you'll see your position. If you're in the chat and you play this game, comment what your season standing is right now. And before we get to ours, just shout out. I feel like I have to. My oldest son, who has won one of the events before, last year, he won one. And he said, "Oh, Dad, this is easy." Guess who's leading the season-long standings right now? Hunter, my son.
Wow.
And guess who's in third
Dang.
place?
He's a helpful judge.
Guess who's in third place? My second oldest
Tanner.
son. Yeah, I'm like, what the heck? Oh, and I think
Josh is in the top 10.
Yeah, Josh is ninth. So that's season long. Let's just get to the event picks real quick. So event picks, we're going to put up, I think it is surprised or not, Ben, you got 83 points this week.
Yes.
Is there any pick you didn't like? I'll just put it that way. Was there a pick you didn't like?
Yes.
You were unhappy with?
D1 athlete, Taylor Chausick. I should have picked her.
No, okay, you should have picked her. Were you mad with any of your picks though? Like who they didn't
I
do
just
good
should have
for you?
picked her other than Madison, but Madison's still my home girl.
Okay, Josh, points for you. You have 81. Only 2 points less. That's on near tie.
Yeah, I mean, I picked Adam Hammes to pop and Anna Steen to drop, and both like crushed for me. I mean, that was 55 my 81 points from those two players.
So no bad picks.
Nope.
Okay.
No bad ones.
Going over to me, 76 points. We were all near tie because we had 3 of our same picks, I think. We're very similar in some ways.
Yeah.
I did have bad picks. I had Cadence Burge. She'll be the first to tell you it was a bad pick. She went on social media, didn't make the cut. She was devastated with not making the cut. She was just upset. I played like trash. And I'm like, yeah, and you lost me a lot of points too. I trusted in you. So anyways, bad pick. But I'm happy to still walk with 76 because I had Yakub and Paul Krantz. Paul Krantz popped and Yakub dropped.
Paul.
So there you go. And then Nick. We're jumping over to Nick's points. Nick, 19 points.
Hey, I'm finally positive in the season-long standings. No, I'm getting unlucky right now. Last week I picked Holyn Handley to win. Kristen Lott won. This week I picked Kristen Lott to win. Holyn Handley won. So it's little things like that. I'm just getting a little unlucky. Madison just one of those weeks where she didn't pop like she did last week. And Isaac Robinson I picked to drop, just hopeful getting some points. Clearly my strategy is not working in that regards. So we're going to change it up for the next time.
So just to put this in perspective, Josh has 218 points. Nick has 6.
I have 6. Yeah.
Oh, dude, I gotta make.
Hey,
some
Evan's
ground.
negative.
Yeah, Evan's negative.
Evan's
10.
playing. For those who are interested, Evan is playing along, and sneakily you can still see where he's placing. I think it's fun for everybody. I think people literally. I saw comments somewhere at some point in the last week. They're like, "Did anybody realize that Evan? You can still see Evan, and like we're destroying him, and it makes us feel good."
Always got to
So,
beat the stat guy.
That's cool. But so Josh is first out of our standings for season long with 218. I have 184 and I'm in second. Ben has 144 in third, and Nick has 6. So, and I won't give the place. It's
hey,
hundreds.
Evan's negative.
It's
Nick's in
literally
the
hundreds. He's
positive.
almost 500th place. So keep going, Nick. This
Hey,
will be
I'm finally beating the people who haven't even played yet.
This is
So
funny.
I'm just happy about that.
the
I have 3 weeks advantage, and I'm beating them by 6 points.
We're gonna have to do a tracker for Nick. How far can he move up? Can he make it over 200? Okay.
Yeah, maybe I'm going to be the pop drop lock player. I'm
All
gonna
right.
pop off.
So
that'd be
I
fun.
think we've got our guest in the chat here. So can you hear us, Sully? Yeah, he can't. I don't think your audio's connected somehow, some way. So I don't want to bring you until I can hear you. So if possible, do a little come out, go back in kind of thing, I think, because it's showing no audio levels.
And let's just hope when he connects and disconnects or whatever, that doesn't exacerbate the problem.
See, that's a weird word. I want to say like wait, what am I thinking?
No, don't say that.
I would say
Don't that.
finish anyway. It's exacerbate, and thank you for the chat.
I want to say
for letting us know.
exacerbate, but it's not. It's exacerbate.
Yeah, you're getting too close to a bunch of other weird words. So
yeah,
Hey,
I
we
can
can
hear
hear you.
Sully now, so that's perfect. So, all right, just like that, everybody. A little refresh sometimes. I don't know why that's the case, but that is the case sometimes. Let me get my buttons all correct here, and we'll bring in guest number uno of the night. Welcome to the show. This format. Boom. Sullivan Tipton, everybody. Welcome to the show, Sully. We can hear you now.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks
Absolutely.
for kicking ass at Open at Austin and being available to come on. Look
yeah,
at
I was
Gannon
gonna say you're
driving.
actually rolling down the road right
Gannon
now. huh?
driving is crazy.
First time in 2 weeks.
All right, keep him focused on the road. I don't want to blame us
Yeah,
if something
for real.
happens.
That would be a horrible story.
No, yeah, it's
horrible.
funny to
Gary.
laugh about now, but that's not funny. So,
Do you remember the episode, real quick? The episode with Ricky, and people could not focus on the interview. This was 2-3 years ago. They could not focus on the interview. The whole chat constantly was like, "This is horrible. Get him off." I think Rick was driving and interviewing. So, cool, Sully. We track, people's finishes and standings. Everybody's doing this now, but like we are noticing this year versus last year. Okay, we do a game here called Pop Drop Lock, and it's a game where we base players' averages and we try to guess, are they going to perform over their average finish, like on the season, or under every event. We try to do that. And so last year, your 2024 average finish, where would you put yourself? You had some good performances. Like, where would you put yourself if you had to say that was my average?
Oh, average? I'm gonna say like maybe around like 42, 38. I don't know, around there maybe.
Okay. I heard some numbers in there. I'm curious, and this is going to be weird, but if you hold the phone a little closer, I feel like it's possible that it's picking up every other word. It's possible. So 46, you're not that far off. 46 was your average finish. After these two first events, you've changed that perspective a lot. You are now 17th after two events. So it's not a solid, it's a good start. We need a few more. Do you feel like this season is going to be a lot different than last season?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super pumped for this season just because it's my first full year of actually dedicating what I'm doing to disc golf. And so the last 3-4 years doing school and disc golf same time, actually focusing on disc golf this year. I'm sure hopefully it'll make a difference. And traveling with Gannon and these guys, it's way more motivation to play really well because I'm surrounded with just really good players that push me.
Ben, I'm sending a phone number for you to forward to Sully. Sully, we're going to have you call back in. I think like a regular phone call. I think we'll get a better connection and conversation. So just do a quick dropout. We'll send you a phone number. You can just call us.
Absolutely.
Or actually, Ben, send me his phone number. I'll call him. It's easier that way.
Okay.
Send me his phone number. Okay, we'll talk to you in just a minute, Sully.
Perfect.
Guys, I'm doing this because I think it's the benefit of everybody. Sometimes you just got to call it quick and be like, let's fix it. So I think a phone call will do that.
Yeah, exactly. I could still hear and make out all of his response, so I'll react to it briefly while we get him reconnected, hopefully with more clear audio, especially for people listening after the fact. So Matt, thanks for doing that. Yeah, I mean, I did not realize, and this is some of the things I'm sure we'll ask him further when he rejoins, but he dabbled in the tour in 2022, and then in 2023, a lot more events. Last year, a lot more events. But I did not realize that he said this year, 2025, is the first year that he's fully dedicating whatever his word choice was, but to the craft of disc golf, being a professional disc golfer, balancing school and competing. And he played in a lot of events. And so with a good start to the season, It looks like he did not play down in Florida. Nick, I don't know if you kept track of all the players who were there, but he doesn't have.
Think
did he DNF or did he bail right before?
No, I think he bailed out right before with an injury.
That's right. But then he had a pretty decent event at Waco, at least from his historical performance, and then a top 10 here.
Yeah.
So I mean, hey, dedicating to the sport full time and then traveling with people who are also very successful could be a recipe for some interesting success.
Okay. I think this should work out. Can you hear us, Sully?
Yes, I can hear y'all. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, the connection is solid now. It's perfect. Thank you very much for calling us back.
Awesome, absolutely.
Sometimes, Gannon's tactics of interviews on the road can work, and sometimes you go over the hills and the mountains, and then it doesn't work.
He's driving up the hills.
Yeah,
he knows all about that. Gannon, stop driving over the mountains.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know where he's going. He already missed a turn.
Nice.
Okay,
well,
so
tell
you're
him to
back.
pull over. So Sullivan, we reacted briefly while you were reconnecting. It looks, just from your history of events, it looks like you dabbled in the tour in 2022, a little more in 23 and 24, but you just told us this is your first year really dedicating full time to the tour. And so you said you were balancing that with school and whatnot over the last couple of years. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, exactly. I graduated college last May, and so I missed a bunch of the early events and been doing that the last 4 years. And so really this would be like my first full season of the Disc Golf Pro Tour, which I'm super pumped about.
Yeah, that's okay. So that's interesting, though. I'm sure people who know that story, but a lot of our listeners won't. And so you did not play Supreme Flight. I think, did you withdraw just out of precaution for an injury, the Supreme Flight Open?
Yeah, I had just a minor little pinch in my lower back, and it was something where I was like 50-50 on like, okay, I could probably play, but it's going to irritate me, and I don't want to push any boundaries. I was like, I got a full year, don't need to rush into anything and cause more problems. Just get rested up and, hit tour with Waco.
Yeah. And then you had a decent performance at Waco, and then you just came in with a top 10 at the Open at Austin. And I think people might recognize, those who follow the sport closely are going to recognize your name, probably for lots of reasons, including social media and thereabouts. But you popped off before at Worlds, right? I think you have a top 10 finish there and a couple other top 10s. But with your now, like your full focus, do you feel like that additional focus and dedication is going to result in better performance on the course for you?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think my confidence right now is really up there, and just being able to give it everything I can. I'm really excited to see how good it can get, and so hopefully, it continues in a trend that's upward, which would be great. But yeah, I definitely see myself having a much better year this year than my previous 3 years of just actually focusing in on the sport and, being with people like Gannon and Gavin and Alden, all those guys, their drive to play disc golf and to get better. Like even over the last 2 weeks, I've seen it like every night, critiquing their form, looking at hole reviews and stuff like that. Just little small stuff. I can see myself already getting a little bit more knowledge of the game and making it more of like a really like hard competitive side. And so hanging out with them is definitely like a good influence and gonna make me better being around them as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think I want to come back and ask you also if Gannon's giving you any bad influences, but don't answer that yet. We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
So
don't answer. Okay.
No, you can answer. No, actually, if you have something you want to answer, go right ahead. Yeah. What bad part of Gannon's rubbing off on you, Sully?
I would say the bad part about Gannon, I think I'm actually rubbing it into him a little bit more, is his food options of what he eats. I think I'm helping him out there with what we should be eating and stuff, because he loves McDonald's. And that's the only thing. Other than that, he's great to be around.
That's awesome. Now, and obviously Gannon's he's been on the show plenty of times, and so I think we reserve the right to kind of rib him. So appreciate you joining on that.
Oh yeah.
So
always.
the open at Austin. Overall, you had a pretty steady event. I think you probably dropped off a little maybe in round 3, but finishing in 7th place. So, like, why don't you just tell us a little bit about how you think that event went for you? Like, was it just all about a steady performance, or was there anything in particular that led you to finish in 7th?
It's actually kind of funny because me and Gannon were talking about it. Like, I was throwing the disc really well all week. All my throwing just feels super consistent. I can just feel like I'm putting it where I want it to. And 7th place is still one of like my better finishes of my career so far. And even with that, like the first 3 rounds, I felt like my putting was so bad. I think I had like 11 missed circle 1 putts in the first 3 rounds. Like I'm still trying to like put together my putt. And we were talking about that, but I'm just seeing a little bit more consistency for my throws, and just staying out of trouble was big for me. I feel like I play much better in like hard wooded courses, and so playing Sprinkle Valley, playing well there was a big push for me. And then going out to Austin, I didn't really know what to expect, and yeah, 3rd round, 1st round there was a little tricky with the wind, but kind of figured it out going into the last day.
Oh, cell service. Can you hear us okay, Sully?
Oh yeah.
I think we can hear you. There was a small drop, but if you can hear us, I think we're all right. So you talked a little bit about putting, but then in the last round, you did not miss a C1X putt. Did anything change for you, or is it just a matter of the averages played in your favor?
No, nothing really too much changed except for Gannon telling me, stop missing those putts, dude. And putts that night and that morning before the round, just dialing it in, locking it in. And so even with all those missed putts the first 3 rounds, I went into the final round confident in those putts, and kind of had to put those behind me and just focus on making the rest of them. Yeah.
Well, again, nice job in that final round. Obviously, not missing a C1X putt and playing well. You talked about playing well on wooded courses, and in a minute, I want to ask you what you thought about the courses there. But before that, what would you say for those of us who don't know you? Like, what's a strength of your game, or maybe if you want to contrast, what's a weakness? Like open courses, wooded courses, forehand, backhand. Like where, how would you describe yourself?
Yeah, I would say starting off with like strength, forehand is definitely like my number 1 strength as far as in the woods, controlling the forehand, but then also distance forehand. I can get good distance while still controlling where the disc goes with distance. Definitely one of my strongest suits in my game. And I would say my biggest struggle is backhand distance being controlled. Like I can actually throw it pretty far backhand. It's just that it's not very controlled when I throw it really far. So when I'm on tour and I'm playing in a tournament, I tend to not throw it super far just to try to control it a little bit better. And so I really got to work on like my backhand distance control. And so Gannon's already critiquing my form and helping me out with that. And so it's been nice looking at things I haven't really looked at. So that's definitely, I would say, the biggest thing I still need to work on. Especially playing in like open courses, like you need that backhand distance pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So what did you think about Gannon's backhand control distance on hole 18 final round? Did you see that shot?
Yeah, he showed it to me, I think about maybe 10, 11, 12 times now. That's just a crush, and it's just, I don't know how he does it. I mean, that was just insane.
Yeah, that certainly was. So you talked about forehand being a strength, and I want to transition a little bit to the courses. Do you feel, were these courses forehand friendly more than other courses from your perspective, or is that not the case? Just as a spectator trying to get a read on that.
Yeah, I would say definitely. They definitely favored some forehand in a lot of holes. I think there's a lot of holes that were strictly forehand holes, where a lot of courses you can kind of pick your line, which the better line might be a backhand shot, but you can still throw a forehand, which a lot of holes out here were strictly a forehand hole. And so, yeah, I think it geared toward lefties and people who throw righty forehands a lot, especially at Sprinkle, I think. There's a lot of wooded forehand holes that play to my strengths for sure.
Yeah. So what's your perspective now that the event's over about the challenge of these two courses? We're going to debate later. Of course, FPO had lots of discussion about hole 18 at Sprinkle, but just in general for you, like, did you appreciate the challenge of these courses relative to par? How do these courses fit in on the whole tour from your perspective?
Yeah, for me, I enjoyed playing them a lot. The challenge is definitely there. Like Sprinkle to me is not as challenging as Harvey Pinnock, just because I'm more comfortable in the woods, like hitting lines and kind of staying in the fairway and wooded holes. I get most in trouble when I'm playing open courses with lined OB with wind, is where I get most nervous, find the most trouble. And so for me, like, the technicality of Sprinkle Valley is definitely there, but that plays better for me in my game. Like, they're a little bit easier for me to shoot hot at, whereas an open lined OB course, which some of Harvey is like that, some of it's woods, but I struggle more on the open holes like that. And so, but it's really cool. They're a good fit together. You know, you got a wooded course, you got a little bit more open course. I think the tour will be going back to Austin for quite a while, and a lot of spectators there. I think they love watching it at both courses.
That's great. What, like, in general, not specific to you, what do you feel like the overall buzz was from the MPO players? Did they, in general, all appreciate those courses and the challenge out there that it offered the field?
I know from, like, my group of who we travel with, like, we all enjoy those courses. And we were even talking about, like, some people, like, really, really did not like Sprinkle, especially hole 18.
Yep.
And we were talking about, like, we only heard that from the people that took the big numbers on that hole. Like, the people that took the big numbers are the ones saying, man, we really just hated that hole. You don't really hear that from the people that, you know, hard or birdied it. So yeah, I think a lot of it just depends on how you did at the course, because I even find myself not liking courses because I don't play well at them. But I think overall, I definitely heard some things of people not loving some of the holes at Sprinkle. I mean, I didn't really talk to everyone, but I know from my group, like, we all enjoyed both of them together.
This is Matt. Let me see if I can go to where I'm on screen here. Hold on. I was talking to another Pro Tour player, and they said people are dumb for taking big numbers as they did on that hole. It's literally 200-foot approach shot. Everyone was overthinking it. Is that what you're saying? You kind of agree with that sentiment?
Yes and no. I mean, yeah, it's not super long. It can definitely be tricky. Yeah, again, in the moment, it's hard to, like, make the decision of, like, what you want to do. Like, we were all talking, like, if we just send it long OB, you know, just get across. Like, the worst you can do is a double at the most. If you just send it long past the green, go to the drop zone, lay up, and for, like, a double bogey.
So,
but
Yeah, so possibly to improve it, they had recommended, and this was not necessarily a recommendation, I actually asked about it, but maybe just make the back and side walls just a little bit taller. Does that sound like the hole would be great in that situation?
I mean, from my personal standpoint, I like it how it was. I like the toughness of that hole. I think it might help some other players too. You know, extending it, making it a little bit higher. It could definitely help for sure. The overall big numbers.
Yeah.
It would help a lot.
Yeah. So I just heard. Go ahead.
I was saying I personally enjoyed the toughness of that hole. And I know that's not every player, but I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, and this same person said for the MPO, it's a fantastic hole. It's not fluky at all. So it sounds, in all seriousness, it sounds very similar to your take. And then the other return was, and I know we're going to talk to an FPO player here in just a bit, so we don't have to elaborate too much. But in the response to that, they also said FPO, it's a terrible hole. So they kind of talked through a little bit of that. But anyways, is that similar perspective you might have?
I don't know if it's a terrible hole for the FPO division. I mean, I wish I could speak more on their behalf. I really don't know any of them like super well to really give an opinion on the FPO. But Gannon has an opinion. He's raising his hand.
Hold your phone over there for him if you don't mind.
Yeah. So I mean, I know one of the concerns for the FPO was the stairs in front of the final shot into the green were too tall for them. Obviously, FPO are shorter than the most MPO players, and so they were actually pitching behind the stairs 40, 50 feet sometimes to get a better angle or a visual at the basket. And so that makes that approach so much harder just because it's way further. Now, obviously, that doesn't apply to everybody because you have players, you know, the shorter MPO players too, also had to deal with that. So it's kind of just like personal preference, but that was probably the main thing that I heard on the FPO side, which they just had a tough time not being able to see the landing zone or even where they were throwing. And you know, me being 6'6", I could barely see where I was throwing when I was up the stairs.
I was just going to crack a joke that not everyone's as tall as Gannon, but then you just said you could barely see it. So, I mean, the other thought was maybe change where they're throwing from the tee pad, make the landing zone where they want to be off the drive, make the OB a little bit more forgiving, like as far as the ruling goes, like maybe OB advance to the drop zone immediately kind of a thing. But obviously, you're both an MPO. We're going to talk to Holyn Handley in a little bit, get her perspective on it. As someone who won, I think it'll be interesting to hear, you know, if she feels like it was a good hole or not. But I don't have anything else. Josh, Ben, Nick.
I mean, do we have Sullivan or Gannon?
They're on speakerphone.
Okay.
Yeah, both of us right here.
Yeah. So I mean, literally, you already said too much McDonald's, but I was just going to ask you, what's it like traveling with Gannon Burr?
Be honest.
It's great. It's pretty fun. You know, when I get to choose the music, it's, you know, the folk country music vibes is good. When it's Gannon's turn to play the music, you know, it's the Christian rap. You know, he's going to town on some rapping in here and freestyling. So we got two different vibes going on. But so what?
NF, yeah, or something else.
Yeah, a bunch of NF. I mean, he can go on for other ones, but
Lecrae. I don't know if that's Christian rap, but it's something.
Yeah, he's got
it used to be at least.
Some of that on there. But yeah, we enjoy it for sure.
Awesome. Man, the phone call is good. I don't know. What else are we missing, Sully? You're coming out hot this year. We already talked about that. I'm excited to watch how that progresses. I will say we do have you tracked for 2023, and that was a better season as far as averages go than last season. So you kind of did this good 2023. How many events did you play then?
I think I played for events in 23.
How many?
And I don't know, maybe like 10.
Okay.
Maybe 10 or 12. Yeah, and about last season too, I came into the season right off like a broken hand.
Oh.
And so like the first 2 months of my season, I had like really bad finishes. I was still like, I dropped out chess.com 2024 because my hand was just still not quite ready to throw, and I tried to push it early.
Okay.
So
So that's
early
probably
this season-
explains a little bit of that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
Um,
toward the end of the season, things were getting back to normal. Things were feeling good again.
And this is the stuff that I know you guys have your own social media following. It's touring players. You probably do. I follow as many as I can, but you can't keep up with everything. But like even players like we interviewed Jake Mon after a great performance at Supreme Flight Open. And he mentioned a similar thing, having an injury last year, because we're like, wow, you're popping off. And it's like some of these players, like you included, are maybe saying, well, we're actually performing how we hoped we would. And previous year, we were injured at some points in it. So that's interesting to hear. I wish we could have like somewhat of like a health tracker, kind of like they do for the NFL. We can like see like Sullivan, Tipton, right rib, you know, a Jake Mon, left back, like James Proctor, you know, Haiti Line. Hey, did you guys hear about that? I'm sure you did. Torn ACL. What do you think about that?
No, honestly, I never heard about that.
Off of Holyn's drop zone, I think.
So,
Yeah, crazy.
So what would that do to your career as a disc golfer? I mean, Gannon or you, Sully. I mean, that's pretty epic in a bad way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, hopefully we don't go into anything like that, but that could definitely be like, you know, a step back in your career for sure.
Sorry that I asked that question.
Oh, yeah, I mean, any kind of injury is taking a couple steps back. I mean, I remember when Kevin Kiefer for his like ACL at D-Glow 2023, and that set him out for the rest of the year. But yeah, ACL is no joke for sure.
Yeah, it's so. I figure Kevin Jones would have done that on that slip ace, you know, at Maple Hill, but he didn't do it there. It's incredible to throw a shot and have that type of injury happen. Obviously, we wish her the best. I didn't know if you had heard anything else there, but
yeah, I had not heard. I knew Gannon did something to his knee like several years ago.
When he was what, 16?
Yeah, I was 15 or 16, one of the two.
Yeah, and you had surgery.
I did. It was basically the same thing as an ACL tear. Same mechanism. So I had to get surgery, get that repaired. And that, you know, it put me out for at least 4 months. And then when I came back, I lost probably 150 feet, and I could only throw forehand off of 1 foot for probably 9 months because I couldn't put any weight on my left foot.
Wow.
Someone in the chat just asked for clarification, and I'm curious too. Maybe someone on the show knows this. Was it hole one's tee pad or the drop zone platform on one?
Gannon saying it was the platform of the drop zone.
Huh. I'd like to hear more about that. I'm sure there's probably a lot of conversation around the course design there from those people as well. But well,
that's pretty crazy. Well, I think there's like stairs behind it though, right? Oh, she slipped on the stairs. Someone was saying.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate. Obviously, very unfortunate. I mean, Paige Pierce slipping on a bridge over in Europe and having her situation. Interesting. That's a whole nother talking point, but we kind of sidetracked a bit. I was just curious if you had that information. Anybody else here on the show have a question before we let them go? No? Okay.
Good.
No, just congrats. I mean, Sullivan, this puts you in the top 20 in Pro Tour standings this year after just a couple events. So, again, congrats on a great start. Obviously, there's a long road ahead. But again, congrats. We'll be watching to see how you do.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, for sure. We'll have you on another time, I'm sure. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'll see you guys.
All right. Peace out.
Thanks. Bye.
Good luck. And drive safe. So I'll let the music kind of finish up for a second, but one of the you know, when I was at Olympus and you're preparing for these big events, right? You know, first the Chess.com Invitational and then the Supreme Flight Open. One of the things that is really in the back of your mind is a player getting injured, a spectator getting injured, you know, something of that degree is definitely kind of, I don't know, it's almost like overbearing at some points. And so going from Chess.com Invitational, we had T-pads that most people had complained about being too slick, especially in the morning time when there was some dew on the ground. And so one of the biggest things that we had focused on in 2024 was, hey, let's get new tee pads so that in 2025 we shouldn't have that issue. And that was a huge stepping stone in, kind of the, relaxing of kind of my own mind of players getting injured. The worst thing that you want to do is see a player get injured at your tournament, at your course, right? And especially the first one of the year, and then have the whole rest of their year be completely shot. Not that you ever want to see a player get injured, don't get me wrong, but to have it be the first event of the year, and for Heidi's situation, being the third event of the year, Paige Pierce's situation, midway through the season, right in the middle of the European swing, right? She's all the way in Europe when, her doctors and everything like that are all the way over in America. And so it's definitely, not something that's fun at all. And tournament staff, tournament directors, the local LOCs and everything like that, they try to do everything that they can to make a course as safe as possible. There are some things that are just out of control. Rain, Mother Nature, everything like that. But yeah, definitely it's not fun. And it sucks that, it happened to Heidi. I have no idea. Like, we were just talking about, we have no idea exactly what happened. But definitely sucks. We don't wish that upon anyone. We don't hope to see that at all throughout the rest of the season.
So I know I was chiming in quite a bit on like, hey, what do you think about hole 18 for them as MPO and FPO? And I was trying to insert a little bit of takes on that as well. I'm interested in just like curbing that until Holyn comes on, let her kind of share her thoughts on it. Maybe we'll have some follow-ups on it. But I think we give her opportunity, then we can kind of see where it takes us for our conversation with all that in mind. I want to take it to a different hole.
I remember my one thing.
I want to take it to a different hole. A hole 17, Sprinkle Valley. So I heard so much positive thoughts about hole 17, but I'm not going to lie. Whether it played great or not, I did not like the visual aspect to it. Like, maybe you agree with me, my take. I don't know. Maybe you hate my take, but I'm just going to tell you it because it's raw and it's real. I didn't like the perspective from the tee pad at all with the wall. I think the wall is strategically placed. I knew it was intentional to make the hole play a certain way. And so it probably played that way. I'm hearing lots of positives about the play of it. The appearance of it, from my perspective, it's very hard to tell what's happening. You say, well, they're just trying to throw over the wall, but you can't see the shot land. From the tee pad, you can't see the shot land. I didn't really like that as just a viewer of the sport. That's all. If I was there in person, it'd probably be amazing because you get to watch it come in over the wall. Very cool. Aces, really cool hole all around like that, the aesthetics. And then one other thing to it, the horns. Now, I know Texas is like long horns and all that kind of stuff. It's artistic. It didn't look bad, like in a design way. But when it came to a drop zone having to putt kind of through or around it, to me, and I know this was, maybe I'm wrong. This was a Brody Smith thing for a long time, but it's like, are we playing the clown's mouth mini golf? Like, it had this feel of like, what are we? And here's the deal. I'm okay saying that is what we are. The problem is I'm not quite sure that I feel like that is defined as who we are. So it has this mixed feeling to me. Anyways, that's the prompt. You guys can react. Maybe you loved it. Shut it down. That's fine. What do you think?
I mean, I like the platform idea. I like, kind of being able to hit a big putt like that. Don't love the horns. I don't think it's necessary, but that's just my own take on it.
Well, yours and mine now.
Yeah, exactly. But
are you sure these aren't just antlers?
Yeah.
Well, that's what they
Longhorn or whatever.
That's what they're talking about.
Some Texas antler.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't think so. Yeah. I'm maybe with Ben, and we're going to the least important fact here, which is I don't think they're longhorns.
Okay.
Longhorns are literally longhorns. Those are definitely like some kind of deer or elk. Or...
I don't mind it. I'll say it. I don't mind the horns or the antlers. I don't mind it.
You're the guy who wears a platinum blonde wig coming on the show, though.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think my opinion is anything that makes a course a little extra zazzle without being gimmicky. For example, hole 10, Maple Hill, the castle. They easily could have just put a basket there, but the castle is iconic, and so like anything that I'm all for. But so I don't mind the antlers at all, especially because I don't think they'll ever get in the way because everyone's just hyzer bombing them in.
No, I'm talking about the drop zone.
We're talking about for the drop zone putt.
Oh,
The drop
okay.
zone putt is literally aimed right at them, about 20 feet off the tee pad.
Yeah, like it's
Okay,
designed to
sorry.
throw through them or a slight
Okay,
hyzer
never
putt
mind.
around
Sorry, I thought you were talking about off the tee. I was
No.
like, I was
No,
like,
no,
I
no.
feel like they like don't exist.
No.
Put
Yeah,
them
put
everywhere.
the
Put
antlers
spikes out there.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Put the antlers all even on the backside of that 30-foot
Oh, I
circle.
see what
Like
you're
make
saying
like
now,
all antlers. Like I don't care a wall of them, even on the 30-foot circle long. I just feel like in that zone, like it makes for a good picture, I guess. But my point is, I don't know if that's who we are. I don't know. I'm not sold on it. If it is, then it is. I'll buy into it. But
I
it's
see
just,
what you're saying
No,
now.
I agree. I mean, even like but leading up to the event, like not all, I'm exaggerating. A lot of social media is like showing the players like doing these funky putts through and everything. And it felt like that's a fun like social media clip.
Yeah.
Like that's great. Like we're in Texas. Look at this. But then it's like, whoa, that's the real tournament. Like all of a sudden it's like that's a juxtaposition. You're like, oh, like that could actually happen.
That makes more sense.
I thought that was like the warm up fun. So yeah, I mean, whatever. It's not a big complaint, probably because I'm not a big complainer. But that, yeah, I wouldn't do it that way.
not a complainer. Not a complainer.
Yeah, I'm not saying you are either. I'm just saying
literally,
that's my reaction.
I know this. I just want to reiterate. I'm bringing this up for discussion. If it's something that I'm just feeling, I don't go out and like be like, oh, this is horrible. I'm doing it for the conversation of the masses, right? We have lots of people who listen and have their own opinions. I want them to either relate or to not relate and say that's a crazy take. That's okay. We just want to engage you. I think that wall, again, someone else said they agree. What did you think about the wall? Did that bother you at all? Again, I think for the playability of it, it's the way it should be and wanted to be. The perspective of not being able to see it land. I know they don't have the luxury of like glass, but it would be great to be able to see the disc come in.
Yeah, I'm gonna real quick go back. I now see what you're saying from the drop sound. That makes way more sense to me. That was your point you're bringing. I thought you were just saying from just throwing off the tee. But yeah, that is definitely more a clown's mouth mini golf, trying to like go through the clown's mouth, aka the antlers or something like that.
And who was it that did it? Like on the lead card or feature card, people were hitting it through there. It's cool, but it's also kind of like, is this what we're putting out there?
Yeah.
So
I get it now.
Cool. As far as the wall goes, any thoughts? I kind of cut people off. It's fine.
I don't mind
like
it.
Okay.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's an island hole. You can, do whatever you want with an
It's
island
just the
hole,
front
right?
side. Imagine if you took hole 8.
Yeah.
We always go to Maple Hill. Imagine if you took hole 8 at Maple Hill and you put a 4-foot wall at the front of that. And I would
I'm
say,
with you now.
do you see what I'm
So
saying?
with you.
Like it just
Put it
wouldn't
on the
look as good.
backside.
But
Put
the
the wall on the
backside.
backside.
But the
Yeah.
problem is they
my
wanted
thought-
to play harder, Ben. That's why they did it, and I get it. I'm okay with it playing to what they wanted. I'm okay with that.
So they
but it's
wanted
just
to
the
go
visual.
over the wall.
Yes, but just the visual aspect of it. It would ruin hole 8. I feel like it kind of ruined this in a way. I wish there was a way for them to do it. It'd be like a Mando. They'd have to, and it would be horrible. But they'd have to have like a Mando pole at like 4 feet high. Like you have to go over this. That'd be horrible. You couldn't track it.
I mean, I think
I don't mind it.
Okay.
Honestly.
Not
Yeah,
horrible.
I think kind of the difference, we're talking about putting, like a 4-foot wall on hole 8 at Maple Hill. It's different because this hole is specifically designed for kind of that hyzer shot, right? So people are going up and over the wall regardless. Maple Hill, you don't have that option to throw a big hyzer into the island. So tomato kind of thing, right?
Just the visual
it's
aspect.
apples,
That's
oranges,
all I'm
just the
talking
visual-
about.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to see
didn't
the
mind
disc
it.
land.
I do understand now. Better camera view, and you can see the disc land, right?
They would do the replay.
We've talked about this. Yeah, we've talked about this with Maple Hill and stuff. It's all positioning where the camera is, right?
They did a good
on
job
that
on
hole,
production.
They could put a good stand. Yes.
But what I want to say is they would do it on the replay, and I'd go, because I'd watch the throw most of the time, be like, where did it land? And then they would go to the replay and show the shot, and I'd go, oh, that's where it landed. Or like it was almost an ace. But from the tee pad, they can't zoom in onto the basket. They can't.
Yes.
So it
So you
was
gotta
like
switch
a
it to the
blind
catch
shot.
cam, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I guess
Yeah.
you should, could, whatever. I don't know. Maybe it
I
didn't
get what
video
you mean.
well. The
totally,
whole probably
totally
played great.
understand that. Yes, exactly.
So, anyways, that's all.
Yeah,
that was
it wasn't an incredibly difficult hole for them.
No.
Right? I
Nope.
mean,
Aces
so they tried
and
to
birdies.
increase it. Right, but I mean, a 300 and something foot hole, 330 feet hole, averaged a quarter stroke under par. So
to be clear, I think
that's
that's not even correct. They kept saying it. Then the commentators would say, I think it's more like 280, 290.
Oh, maybe.
Well, that's what.
So
in
I'm just
FPO
looking
it
at the
says 280.
stats.
I think looking at.
So something
Right, rounds
something
one and
may or
two,
may not have been
280.
right, but it didn't play hard to your point, Josh. The wind obviously made it harder. That was something else. That was a storyline there. Quite a bit of wind.
Yeah.
But that was my prompt for now. Take it where you want, Josh. And then
Yeah, I don't.
Whatever.
This is still racking my brain. I think I'm okay with it, but it's like Both points are valid.
Ben, you're always a middle of the road guy sometimes.
I will say, Matt,
I can't give it I just don't know. This one's actually really tough for me. I'm trying to think.
Glad I came up with it down the
I'll
middle.
say, Matt, I think you kind of said it best. Where if this is what we are, then this is what we are. If it's not what we are, then it's not what we are. Right? Like open it.
But
Austin,
are we this? That's what I don't know.
If that's what you're expecting at Open in Austin, then that's what you're expecting at Open at Austin. Right? So in that regards, like, sure, cool, do your thing. Is it a little bit gimmicky? Yeah. Does it look a little bit weird? Yes. I
don't have hard feelings.
But
I don't.
I'm one of those people where, and everyone's gonna hate me for saying this, but like I wish we were a little bit more like traditional golf.
That'll do, my
I
friends.
wish we were a little bit more like golf, and that's just my own personal take on it. It's my own personal opinion. No one else has to have that same one, and that's just how it is, right? We're all entitled to our opinions, whether they're bad or not. So
yeah. Although if they're bad, we'll make fun of you for it.
Exactly.
But you are entitled to it.
Yes.
So we're leading up to Holyn Handley, who will join us in a bit. Looking forward to that discussion, again, for her performance this year and at the specific event. And we will debate more hole 18 for FPO. We keep hinting at that because, honestly, it's kind of interesting how something like that can dominate the conversation when really, like,
It's because Kristen threw OB 4 times in a row. That's why this happened.
Can you chat GPT how hole 18 was at Sprinkle Valley? Like, will it give you some
Probably
sort
not
of
yet.
response?
But here's the thing, like social media and everything's blasting with it. But before we're not trying to tease and drag it out. I think, to be honest, I really do want to hear what an FPO player has to say about it before we really
I agree.
pontificate. But so unrelated to that, just brief pause. So we're 3 events into the season. Nick, do you know who's top of the Pro Tour standings? It's fine if you don't. I'm just asking.
Paul McBeth.
FPO, it wouldn't surprise me if it's
MPO.
Holyn. Oh, in MPO.
Yeah.
What can I say? FPO Holyn Handley?
Yes, because she's killing it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just want to make sure I was right in that.
Yeah, you're right. It's not even close.
In MPO.
In MPO, it's close.
I want to say Ezra Robinson, but I don't at the same time.
Good guess. Ben, do you have another guess?
Who's at the top? You said of MPO?
Yeah.
Adam
MPO,
Hammes.
Yeah, Adam Hammes. Can you believe that?
Wow. That's awesome.
Now, we're 3 events in, so I'm not going to discount or put any caveats, but it's only 3 events at the same time. Adam's come out with a pretty good start. By the way, Ezra Robinson is about 10 points behind. So, Nick, like, you weren't far off.
In second place?
Yeah, in second place.
That's literally like one.
Yeah, it's not much. It's not much at all. But here's the order: Hammes, Ezra Robinson, AB, Kyle Klein, Gannon Burr in 5th, and then Paul McBeth in 6th, where he finished last year, by the way. Yeah, and then Calvin Heimberg, and then Niklas, and then Ricky, and then Simon. There's your top 10. I'm just like we're only 3 events in, so I'm kind of classifying this as overreaction. Any overreactions to any of those? Are there any you're like, whoa, like I didn't see that coming?
I think the Adam Hammes being first was my only whoa reaction. Like, not in a bad way, but it's just like, dang, okay.
Yeah.
Ezra, I think I would have put Ezra. Yeah.
Adam Hammes. Listen, 9th place, 1st place, and 6th place.
He's always good for a stretch of the tour.
And then he's going to average 30 and 40 from here on out.
I
would.
We can say we hope not. We're friends with him. Like, we hope not. And maybe he'll prove us wrong. We talked to him, right? We interviewed him, or you guys did. I think it was you. I was listening in Detroit Airport.
Yeah.
He's feeling great. He's motivated. I get all that. We'll see. I'm not going to even closely tie him into the other guest that you had, which was Luke Humphreys. But Luke Humphreys is usually good for a stretch too. Adam Hammes at a higher level.
In Texas, past 2 years, Luke's been like leading.
So Adam Hammes, I'd put, head and shoulders as far as regular consistency above Luke. But my point is, there's players who seem to be good for stretches, and he would have to prove us wrong this year because that's usually how he is. So this could be a different year, but based off of history, Adam's going to start to plateau out. Maybe a little bit better than last year. I'm not going to say 30s. I might say 25 or 20. So we'll see.
So here's another thing. So 5th place is pretty darn good. So it's funny I'm even going to ask this, but anybody surprised that Gannon's in 5th place? Gannon Burr?
I think he is. That would be my take.
Yeah, he definitely is.
I want to be like, remember our interviews with him in the offseason? What did he say? He said things like, I'm aiming to win more events than last year, these kinds of things. And you have to set goals high, but I think he is a little surprised. I don't think he's overreacting. I think he goes, they'll come, and this was a glimmer of hope for him. I think there's zero red light or alarm here. but I think he's probably a little bit surprised.
Look, like last year, Gannon's season last year was insane, right? Absolutely incredible season. For him to even match that season would just be kind of mind blowing, right? And so that's why going from such an incredible, it's like Paul's 2015 season. In 2016, he got injured, but he didn't do the 2015 season. In 2019, he had an incredible season. He didn't do the same thing. Well, it's kind of tough because 2020 is when COVID hit and they shut down half the tour. But even still, you know, it didn't respond that season after. You have an incredible season and then it mellows out. But it looks like a bad season because of how your previous season was. And so for Gannon to try to get 9 wins this season, I think would be like, I would bet money that would not happen. If Gannon gets 4 wins this season, I think that's kind of peak of what he will get. Now, 1 or 2 of those might be majors this year, but I think there's just a lot of really, really good players right now. We're 3 events into the season, I know that, but a lot of good players are popping off early. They're feeling confident. They're feeling good about how their season's going to go. And so when it comes to Gannon being 5th, are we wowed by it? I think no, because I know one of his things was he wanted to get top 10 at every event this year, and that's a pre-flight open. I think he got 12th. Right?
Yeah, 12th. So that's already
right
out.
there is kind of it's hard to step up from that without a win, right?
Yeah, and it's clearly like I'm acknowledging what I said in the intro. It's an overreaction either way, because honestly, he was like 2 strokes away probably from winning this past weekend.
Yes.
And so, you know, points they're different than tracking wins, right? It's literally like, do you not quite one and the same, but do you average the best overall performance for the long haul, right? And it, like right now, anybody, I'm not literally placing a bet, but react to this. Anybody going to place a bet that Gannon's not going to finish first in the point standings?
I would bet that he does not finish first in the points.
I'll bet that he does.
I just like, because
All right.
I'm thinking, so are you thinking,
Yes.
so just,
All right.
I'm a
I know
gambler now.
people behind him could catch, but if I just look at the people in front, do you not think he's going to average better the overall Kyle Klein, AB, Adam
Calvin.
Hammis, and then
He's gonna be
Calvin's
number one.
behind him, and then maybe Ezra Robinson, I think, would be the one that's interesting right now that could potentially outduel him for the top.
Yeah.
But I said
That's an
potentially.
overreaction.
Yeah.
Can
I'm
we
not-
talk about
we'll see.
overreaction? I'm not
Yeah,
saying
I'm
you
not-
are.
I'm not
but I
picking him
think
to,
the
but-
overreaction is right now is on Ezra. Now, to be clear, if we were to tell
That
the
last round,
storyline,
it was fire.
if we were to tell the storyline of this season, incredible storyline he's got going. His emergence last year as a strong player, going to Discraft, he has a great storyline going. Like, I'm rooting for him. It's exciting to see. I hope he goes. But right now, there's not enough information to say yes. Like, yeah, I'd pick him to, push Gannon further. Can he? Absolutely. I can't make that statement yet on Ezra. I got to wait and see more. If he pops off a few more times, if he does, then I'll start to go, all right.
You all got to text me if anybody placed an official bet. Otherwise, that was just fun
No, that
conversation.
was official. That was official.
Gannon will win,
All right.
is what Ben said.
I bet that Gannon will be number
Gannon
one.
will be number
Yeah.
1. Yeah, here we go. Shook
And
on it.
we have a guest in the green room as well if we're ready to go on that. You can hear us, right,
So-
Holyn? Okay, so we
Perfect.
were ready to wrap it up. We're good, Josh?
We're good.
You got us riled up enough to bring in the FPO winner? Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, let me hit a few buttons here. See if I can do this as I always do. Welcome to the show, Holyn, Handley. Glad to have you. Congratulations. We had you on last. We were talking about what will this season be like. You wanted a win. You wanted a few, I think. We talked about what you were doing to accomplish that. You came to the Open at Austin, and you performed high enough. We'll let you talk about it to get the win. How does it feel this year?
It feels really good. Honestly, I don't love how that last round looked. Not really, I didn't really want to have to give up all of my lead there at the end and just barely win it, but it was good enough. So happy to get a win on the board so early.
So
Yeah.
it seems like, and this is maybe just spinning this as media could do. It seems like sometimes when Holyn wins or something, like something kind of goes down. We've talked about, there's always something that like takes the conversation away from like Holyn just won, epically. Do you feel like something like hole 18 and people throwing OB, like, do you feel like that places any mark or scar on this event at all? Or do you feel like, hey, we all played the same thing? That is 0 for me.
Yeah, hole 18 certainly warrants a lot of discussion. It was kind of an unprecedented hole. And so I don't feel like it takes away from me at all. I mean, honestly, I don't listen to a ton of the media anyway. I'm just kind of like happy within myself, like with what I accomplished, and I'm focusing, you know, on what I need to do next. So I'm not too worried about, you know, if there's a ton of discussion about me or whatever else was going on.
And to be clear, I haven't heard it. We're just bringing our own takes. And I was just curious if you felt like that had anything to do with it, or you were feeling like off about it. But I was hijacking the interview here, Josh. I think you have some questions, but we do want to get back to hole 18 and your input on it, because we're not going to make a take on it until after we hear from an FPO player. That's not always usual, but we wanted to do that tonight.
You usually don't bite our tongue, but holy cow, Holyn, if you don't follow much media, like everything is a buzz. Hole 18, hole 18, hole 18. Before we get there, honestly, Matt kind of said it. Congrats. I mean, honestly, what a start to the season. Like, what? I mean, second place. I mean, tell me if I get this wrong. It's very simple. Second place, and first place.
Yep,
that is almost as good as it can get without literally, you know, winning out. So I think maybe we know the answer, but can you just react? Like, is this playing out how you hoped? I mean, we talked to you in the off season and all your focus and energy, and like here you are, like 3 events in, basically full steam ahead. Like, is this how you drew it up?
I mean, if we were going to say how I drew it up, I would have won the playoff and Supreme Flight Open. But
okay, so you'd be at least 2 wins by now, maybe 3. All right, got it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like every round I've played, you know, I'm still making a lot of errors that I feel like are pretty simple errors. A lot of missed putts, some missed up shots, some times where my focus isn't quite where I want it to be. So I feel like there's a lot of easy strokes still to get back, and I feel like I'm kind of getting away with some pretty simple mistakes. So it's nice that like I'm getting these really good results when I still feel like I haven't quite put together, you know, the level of tournament that I really expect from myself. So on the one hand, super stoked with the results, but on the other hand, like I have a higher standard that I think I can reach.
Yeah. Well, I think just from watching, I think that appears evident to us as well. So again, we'll rewind back to some earlier rounds, but I actually want to talk about the last round with you and get your thoughts on that. You started that with a 6-stroke lead, which you earned. And I have kind of some different stats, but before we even talk about that, I just want to know, like, you know, you grew the lead out of the gate and then slowly bled away the lead. Like, tell us how that round felt, like on the card, like for you, like maybe the emotions, like seeing that swing. Were you aware of the scores and how they were kind of like growing and then fading? What was the feeling in that final round for you?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a lot of nerves going into it, but I always feel nervous going into rounds. In fact, the day before, I probably felt even more nervous for whatever reason. And I wasn't too worried about that, though. I was just trying to, you know, make sure I brought the level of focus to every shot that I needed to. And it felt like things started really well. Kind of my goal was like, let's get our shots in bounds and let's give ourselves opportunities and not do anything too risky. And I've kind of been struggling, honestly, on all week with the woods shots. I felt like when I played Sprinkle Valley, I was hitting like every single possible tree. And so getting into those wooded holes kind of felt more like what I had been seeing for myself all weekend already. And yeah, it was a little tough to not like freak out during that. I kind of was like feeling that like in the stomach kind of feeling. And, but I was telling myself, you know, going through after we got out of the wooded stretch, like now we're going back out of the open. That's where I've been playing really well. And I've still got a lead. So, don't need to panic or anything yet. And then, did like pick up some OB strokes, but was still playing clean. I kind of was kicking myself for not just laying up my putt on, 14. I had kind of a weird, like, you know, side hill stance, and it was a putt that I should be able to make, but I kind of had the thought of like, if I just lay up and take the 5, Kristen takes the 5, and I forget if it was 3 or 4 strokes at that point. And I ended up missing 2 putts. So I was kind of kicking myself for not just like going with that initial thought, because that would have made it a lot easier on myself. And then, you know, of course, missing a couple of zone shots there down the stretch, like was starting to want to panic, but didn't panic and was able to, you know, crawl across the finish line.
Yeah. Well, again, and a win is a win, but we are interested in how it unfolds. So you talked about making a decision on like a layup or not. I think you said hole 14, which coming into that hole, you had a 4-stroke lead. After that hole, you had a 3-stroke lead. how are you making those decisions? I mean, you just talked about it a little bit there, but like, are you consulting with your caddy or anything else, or is this just all in your own like thought process, just trying to decide what you're going to do?
Yeah, when it comes to putts, I generally just go based on how I feel once I stand over the putt. Because if I feel like I can make it, I'm going to go for it. And if I feel like I can't make it, it would be stupid to go for it. And so in that instance, I felt like, this is a putt I can make. So it wasn't windy or anything. It was just a little weird with the hill. Probably if I had to do it again and I felt the same way, I would probably still run it. But it was a thought that I had of like, I do have the option to actually lay up here, but it felt maybe a little early yet to be giving away my strokes. But in hindsight's 2020, like, it probably would have been an okay thing to lay it up.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm not sure you should ever second guess your decision, but you can certainly learn from them, right? And that's probably a distinct difference. This round was, I mean, you lived it, and this is why I'm asking, but it was crazy to watch because between, if I count first and second place, and I know there were more players there, but between you and Kristen, there were literally only 2 holes out of the 18 where you scored the same score. Yeah. So like, we can't really call it like a push because it's not match play, but there were literally only 2 holes. It was hole 5 and hole 13 that were quote unquote a push. Everything else was either you taking strokes or Kristen taking strokes. And again, you had grown your lead to 8 and then finished at -1. Does a round like that feel any different? What I mean is like there's always tight competition, but like when you're literally both taking strokes from each other in both directions for 16 out of the 18 holes, do you sense that? Like, is that like more of a roller coaster ride, or does that not play into it?
I mean, I kind of expected that could happen because that is the kind of course where you can have really big stroke swings. So kind of the thing I was telling myself was like, hey, if you do happen to give 1 or 2 up kind of early, remember, like, you can get them back just as quick. Didn't quite think it would play out, that roller coastery, but it was something I knew could happen. So I wasn't too surprised by it.
Yeah.
I'm jumping in real quick. Did you, did your heart stop just a little bit when Kristen, that last putt attempt hit the top? Like, what was that moment like for you?
Oh man, I think I would have made my putt, if she had sunk it, because I don't usually get big putted. Usually if someone makes it before me, I usually am able to clutch up and make it right after. But I did have to laugh after because she made my heart rate spike a little bit there.
It would have been, had you still hit your putt, of course, they're talking as if that still would happen no matter what. It would have been just a really big epic moment for disc golf fans in a way, just to watch what happens, right, in a big moment. But yeah, anyways, I was like, whoa, she almost did that, right? People root for a good event, and so she pushed it that far. Yeah, there was a little bit of a period there, and I'm glad to hear your mental perspective on it, because I think watching it out as a fan, I forget what hole it started on. It was probably somewhere near 6 or somewhere in there. You did a double bogey, single bogey, double bogey. Obviously at that point you still had a lead, but your mindset, you're saying, was like, hey, you can get these back just as quick. So you weren't spiraling.
No, I think a year ago me probably would have spiraled. In fact, I think back to Music City last year, I had something similar where I had a pretty good start, extended the lead, and then got a little too aggressive around like hole 8, and then missed a putt on 9, and then things kind of spiraled from there, and I started trying to do more than what I was really capable of, and then come to find out at the very end, if I had just stayed patient and calm and stuck to my game plan, I might have actually had a shot to get those strokes back. So I think there was like a little bit of a hard lesson learned that came into play for sure.
Well, it was fun to watch, and you are, I remember last year talking and interviewing as well. You are this year leading the pack, but man, you are that player now. In our list of people who are, let me see here. Holyn, Handley on a podium. Obviously, Josh just said this. You've podium or won now, the first 3. But if I read the other names, you have Evelina, Owen, and Kristen. Really are the only other players who have, and Ella, sorry. Podium or win. This is the group. You're in for a challenge this year. It's going to either be you or one of these players is my pick. There might be, if there's one player, Holyn, who I didn't just list, that you think they might get a win or a podium real soon, who might it be?
I think Missy for sure.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, she's dealing with a little bit of shoulder issues right now, I think, and I think it's even been bothering her on her putt, but I'm sure like as soon as she bounces back from that, she's going to be right in that mix.
Inside scoop for all of our pop, drop, lock players. Inside scoop. Missy has some injury going. We said we need an injury tracker because everyone tends to, we don't know it for sure as fans, and then later they start performing really high. So that's interesting. But yeah, so I mean, you're in that, I guess we'll call it the elite group minus Missy right now. What did you think of having Katrina play there? I mean, when you came in the sport, was Katrina a player that was like vying for these wins week in and week out, or not really as much when you came in?
Oh, for sure. And I was a big fan as well. And even, the win that got me kind of noticed was a win over Katrina in Arizona. So, yeah, for sure. It was back. I started playing back when it was kind of the Katrina versus Paige show. And then Kristen was starting to kind of come up a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. I think from a fan's perspective, it was, I don't want to say nostalgic, but it was cool to see her being able to rise up like that. And, we talked to Macy becoming a mother in, if you want to say, the off season within the last year. And Katrina, I think the sport it's in not a weird place. It's in a place where this is going to be more often. And it's interesting to see how it can either inspire or, I don't want to use the word hold back, but change life decisions or whatever it is. But it's always an interesting story to see there. So anyways, congrats to you again on your win. Ben, Nick, Josh.
Yeah, I got one. This is kind of going to be out of left field really quick, but what was your job before disc golf?
Oh, yeah, I was a process engineer. I worked in medical device manufacturing.
Gotcha. Okay. So
wow.
Looking at besides for the tournament that you played out in New Zealand, you've played 10 rounds on the Pro Tour so far this year. You've made, let me go back to it really quick. Sorry, I clicked off my tab. You've made about $13,400. Now, going from round to round, you're averaging right now to play a round on the Pro Tour, $1,340, which is pretty cool. I love the money aspect of things. We used to do, cash per throw. I don't know. Evan used to be great with that when it came to how much you're making per throw. But right now, to go out and play 18 holes of disc golf on the Pro Tour, you're averaging about $1,300, which I think is pretty friggin' awesome. When you got into the sport, around 2020, correct? Around that time? Mm-hmm. So money wasn't as much as it is now. Tournaments weren't paying out as much. FPO division wasn't paying out as much. Sponsorships weren't paying out as much. Did you think coming into the sport that you would be making kind of the money that you are making now?
No, when I came into the sport, going on tour wasn't even a thought in my head. I didn't know I didn't consider even really going on tour until maybe a couple weeks before I decided to tour for 2022.
Yeah.
And it really only happened because I was kind of at a crossroads with my job anyway. We were going to move. I was living in California at the time. We were planning to move back to Texas. And so I was kind of in this mode of like, starting to look for another job. And I kind of was like, I'm not into this job search at all because like I know I could go play disc golf. And I just decided to do it for a year. Fully expecting to be taking a huge pay cut. And it's crazy. I'm like last year I made way more actually than I was making whenever I quit my job, which is pretty wild.
That's awesome. That's cool to hear. It's definitely been very cool to see in our sport the last, 5-6 years now, kind of the money really pouring into it and pulling in for a lot of players, not just, the ones right at the top, it's kind of sprinkling down to a pretty significant amount of players now. I had one more question and I kind of lost my train of thought with it. Oh, here it is. A couple of years ago, we were kind of talking about, or maybe this was last year too, but talking about players popping off, who was the pop player over the year? And you've always kind of been my pop pick because I see the way that your off season goes, you're powerlifting, your weight training, but you're also, you're building your own course, pretty much your own training facility out in Oklahoma. Do you feel like, going second place, first place throughout this year, do you feel like you're kind of starting off so hot because of how well you trained in the off season, or just everything clicking right now?
I think it's definitely a result of the work I put in. I think, directly from the training, like because I'm training so hard in the off season, I'm not dealing with some of these early season injuries that a lot of players, they go from, not throwing the same, like not having the same volume of throws that we typically have week to week to suddenly having that volume of throws, and they're not building like strength and stuff to help prevent those injuries, and they start having all these aches and pains and it hurts their performance early on. I'm not really having to deal with that as much as a lot of people are. And then, yeah, I mean, my philosophy has always been just like always trying to get incrementally better, focusing on that process and refining that process. And I think, yeah, the results are definitely a result of that.
So do you feel like, and this might be kind of a conceited question, but do you feel like you trained the best / the hardest this offseason? And do you feel like other players are, I don't want to say taking it as seriously, but I kind of want to say taking it as seriously when it comes to the like athletic side of disc golf, the training that happens in the off season going into the actual full season?
I mean, I have no way of knowing if I trained the hardest because I don't really see what other people do. I kind of just assume everyone's doing the best that they can and that I have to, you know, keep pushing my level. So I'm not really looking to compare who's training the hardest because at the end of the day, you can like squat more or train harder, but if you're not getting the results on the course, you know, who cares? And I will say, I think more players now than ever are taking care or starting to like, you know, hire trainers or work out or take care of things, you know, outside of playing. And I think, you know, as I was noting this when we were starting that final round, it's like, oh, a lot of the people that are up here in the top 10 are the players who like are starting to go to the gym, who are like taking care of their health and their fitness. So I think, and especially I've seen a lot of the European players, especially like getting professional help in that regard. So I think more than ever, we're seeing players take that seriously.
Definitely.
That's
it on my side.
This is horrible interview practice, but from a perspective I'm interested in, did the audio just changed for us, like in a significant way, where it got better, like way better, like crystal clear?
Yeah, Tyler just turned the air conditioner off.
Oh, okay, good.
I should have done that when I started.
That's okay. And I don't think our audience on YouTube and I don't think our post-listening audience is actually going to hear it. I was doing some like noise filters, so I think we're fine. But from my ears, I was like, "What?" I'm looking around. I'm like, "This is
bad.
No. It's all good.
No, you're fine, Matt.
I did have that thought before we started, but
It's okay. Literally, I don't think our audience is going to have a clue. They're like, "Matt, what are you talking about?" Because we produce it pretty well. But anyways, thank you.
I couldn't even tell.
It was for my education purposes. I was like, man. All right, cool.
So, Holyn, we want to talk to you about hole 18.
Yeah, let's get into hole 18.
And I could tee this up in 100 different ways, but honestly, I just want to ask, like, what's your take on it? Like, and then we may want to ask you some follow-ups or questions how different players handled it, but just like, what's your reaction to hole 18 Sprinkle Valley?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't love playing it personally. I didn't love taking a 6 and a 9 on it, but I do think it needs changes going forward. And there's a lot of different arguments for that, but I think the biggest one has to do with course flow. There were just insane backups on the hole. I think round 2, when my card got there were 6 cards either on the hole or waiting. So we had a card putting. We had a card in the second landing zone waiting to throw across. We had a card in the fairway waiting on them. We had a card on the tee. We had the card ahead of us waiting in the men's tee underneath the tent to stay out of the sun. And then we had us. So just the amount of time it takes to play that hole is just absurd. And so it needs to change for that reason. And I think like the choke point for that hole is that final shot onto the island. And I think the reason we were seeing players really struggle with it was you have kind of a confluence of a variety of challenges, right? You've got small island, you've got a small landing zone. Unless you land in a very specific spot and are tall, it's a blind shot. It's a tight shot, and you're having to throw like a nose up, stall, distance control type shot to get over there. And I think that, and then you also have the wind is a potential factor. And so I think with all of those together, while maybe it's the design of the hole, like the bones of it, I think are fine. I just think like you get too much of that choke point, and then you've got like, obviously the psychological effect of like, if you don't make it, you have to throw again. So all of that stuff, I think, makes the hole maybe a little too punishing. And then, when we were in practice on Tuesday, we actually had a ripping headwind coming at us. And I remember I was practicing with Ella and we were like, yeah, there's FBO who can't complete this hole period in these conditions. And so all of that being said, I think it does need to change going forward. I'm fine with it staying like really hard in a hole that you can blow up on, but I think as it is now, like we can't be having 5 and 6 card backups.
Yeah, that part's crazy. Those are the things that we don't get perspective watching. Live coverage, maybe we get some of that nuance, but it's not what you just expressed. Yeah, I mean, there were 5 players who took birdies.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were a lot of players who took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 over par, including some of your closest competition. Why do you think so many players took such a high score? Other than, like, we know it's a challenge, but when we're talking a challenge, we're not talking about bogey or double bogey, but again, with 6, 7, and 8 over par. Is that because of, you talked about, the stall, nose up, hyzer challenge, or were players not necessarily attacking the hole appropriately for what it is?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know how a ton of other players were, I don't know how everyone was attacking it. But generally what I saw on my card was, you land your first shot in bounce, you try to get your second shot to the perfect spot. And if you don't, you just pitch a little putt to wherever you want to be, and then you try to go across. And it's just like if you want to have just like a really simple, like for me, straight buzz shot, you have about like maybe 10 to 15 square feet of area to land in. Also, that ground's not flat. It's kind of uneven. If you're on like more of the right side of the stairs, even at my high, like I can't really see the basket. If you're a little bit more on the left side, it's a little bit easier. And I think that's also contributing to like the backups problem. But, at that point, you're playing this really like hard-ish shot, but like it has really bad consequences if you mess up, and you can just sit there and empty your bag. But I think the interesting thing is like I think they did this to have really good scoring separation, but we ended up almost not really having scoring separation because 70% of the field blows up on it. It kind of doesn't matter if you blow up on it. I mean, like Krista blew up on it twice and she got second. So like, does it really matter? If you take, like I took a 9 in round 2 and I thought the world was ending. But then, I look at the scorecard and I'm like, actually, I know everybody who's on lead card right now is going to take a big number, and I'm going to move up the lead card. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. You maybe gain strokes or whatever, but yeah.
Yeah. So I think like from a psychological perspective, it is a challenge. It's very unlike any other hole. So if like, that's what we were going for, we wanted something to just really mess with the players' heads. I think we were very successful.
Can I ask to like speculate? And so this is what it is. But if the same FPO field had 10 more opportunities at this, seeing how it played out, do you think the FPO field could adjust to it and that score would normalize, or is it literally inherent? Like you talked about the mental challenge. I'm just curious if it's like, if this was a new challenge for the players that caused like, this problem, or is it something that like we clearly have to adjust?
I think maybe the top part of the field could adjust to it. Just because that's like, obviously it's where the players have more like types of shots, to get across. Because that's really the thing is like, you kind of, if you're on the right side, you kind of have to throw this stalling Anheuser, flex shot that not every player is comfortable with. If you're on the right side, you have more of a hyzer, or you can try the forehand shot, but it's just, you're so limited on shots. I think only the top part of the field that's really particularly good at shot shaping would maybe be able to get that down to like more par bogey average. But no, I still think a significant amount of the field would really struggle to advance from that shot. Yeah.
I want to just elaborate a little bit because I want to say it was the presented by or posted by Mint Disc. Sorry. They responded into a post online and they actually addressed this. I don't know if you read that. Have you seen that? Where they've addressed the whole?
Yeah, I did. Okay. I did see it. Yeah.
So because you were kind of hitting on some of the topics here where, yes, they said we did create this type of golf and we enjoyed the shot shaping we wanted to see. Like, this is what we wanted to see. Mm-hmm. But they also, I can't just say that only. They also talked about it was really hard to hear. We never intended to humiliate anybody. It's different than what we expected it to be. All these things. They want to cater to the FPO group who's trying to make a career out of this and not just try to spotlight a hole. So all of that aside, you can go find that online, everybody, if you want to read more about that. But to that point, I mean, so let's say going forward, the quick fixes could be like, hey, make the walls a little higher, move the basket possibly, or I don't know if it'd fix it. Let's make it a different hole where the tee shot can actually make it closer to a landing zone that isn't so OB punishing, right? So like maybe a tee shot, make it a par 4. Like there's all different thoughts. If you were to kind of take that and say, we still want some of the difficulty there, but we want it to be a better hole, what would you do with it?
I mean, I think what I would do with it is you either put a drop zone at the top of the hill or you move the line to be just before their little ditch, because you take stairs up to the top of the hill and then there's that ditch, and then sometimes that ditch is filled with water, which is why they've not had it as like a hazard or anything like that. I think if you do that, you're taking away the awkward angle from that, from depending where you are. So like if you were to throw your first shot and not make it over, you're getting to advance to a spot where now it's about a 200-foot level straight shot, no weird shot shaping required. If there is wind, you're not forced to throw it nose up, so you can kind of play the wind a little bit better. You can also see the basket, right? It's removing a lot of those elements that maybe caused you to miss your first attempt, but it's still a challenging shot. Like you're still having to hit the island, but you're a little more guaranteed to at least be able to cross the island in advance. And I think that would still make it a really hard, really punishing hole, still a hole where you could sit there and tin cup, but I don't think it would be 70% of the field needing to try multiple times.
Okay, so those are a few options. Do you think if the hole stayed the same, and Josh kind of alluded to this with like, hey, maybe players didn't attack it right. But I want to bring this to you. You talked about, I think you said a 9. I forget looking at your scores. You took a 9 on one of that's a quadruple bogey. If you were to make a game plan with all of this information in mind going into next season and they don't change a thing, what would you do to make sure you didn't take a 9? Is that a gameplay? Would you say, hey, let's just go in and take a 6 or a 7? We beat everybody by how much? Like, what would your game plan be?
I mean, that kind of was my game plan, was try, inbounds off the tee, get it as close as I could to the landing zone. And if I'm not in exactly the spot I want to be, I'm pitching up. When I took the 6, I hit a root when I tried to pitch up. So I had to pitch up again. And then I was able to get on the island. No problem. I had to make a long putt and get the 6. And then the second day I went a little bit further right of the stairs than I really wanted to be, but I still tried to go over, and I ended up hitting a tree and then taking it back and getting to be a little bit more picky about my spot. And then I flew the green, laid up from the drop zone. So I think my play would still be, try to give myself an opportunity to go over across for birdie, but like lay up to my exact spot and just play it for par. And then, I went with like a disc a little bit faster than what I would normally do for that distance shot, just to make sure, like, if anything, my mistake is long. And I'd probably still do that. And honestly, that was a lot of people's play on that hole.
So the mistake, you say it's a lot of people's play, and I actually see a lot of the keyboard warriors being like, hey, just make sure your miss is long. Just throw it long. Does everyone just throw it long and you're not as punished, right? Is it that easy to do? It's almost seeming like maybe that's your plan, but it's not that easy to even do that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'd invite everybody to go play it.
Yeah, I would love to fly out there and try it. Yeah.
Because I mean, again, if it was a flat distance island shot, I would tend to agree that it's not that complicated, but because you're having to throw up and get the disc to fly straight, it's a touchier shot than, say, like a hole 8 at Maple Hill, which is a similar distance, similar island shot. Yeah, I think if like you remove that element of it, it would be a lot easier.
One more question about throw style and play of that specific approach, and then I'm done. Kristen threw forehands. I think it was round 1, and I don't remember every shot in round 2. I was a little bit more sporadic as I was watching it. It seems to me, based off of what you're saying, that actually the forehand seems to play easier for that shot because of the way the hill slope is in front of you, the way you would want to come in. It seems like that would be the easier approach to that basket. I don't know for you specifically. Maybe you can speak on that. But is that true? Would a nice little flex touch forehand be an easier play than a backhand for most spots there or not?
I don't think so, just because of the width of the fairway that you're dealing with. I mean, I didn't watch Kristen's shots. I didn't watch them on coverage. I saw 2 of them from very, very far away because I was waiting on the tee during round 1. But yeah, it's because, like, that shot, it starts high and it's coming in low. And so if you don't snag something on the right side, the odds that it has the stability to then finish, it's not an easy shot. I think, at least for my game, and this is why I did it, was just easier to just put something high straight and, let that miss be long. I tried the forehand and it did not work for me, so I wasn't about to try it. But Kristen is a lot more comfortable with that shot than I am, so I'm not going to question her choices there.
I said I'd be done, but then I just remembered the reaction. So after she threw OB a certain amount of times, there were definitely tears. This was on coverage. A competitor, obviously super emotionally entrenched in her career and her sport and her practice. That's understandable. Have there been moments on the disc golf course for you this weekend or others where you've been brought to tears during competition?
Not this weekend. I think the only time I've cried because of disc golf was after taking like an 8 at one round on OTB, but it wasn't on the course and I had my sunglasses on and you can tell.
Okay.
I was literally like smiling, taking pictures with like little kids and I'm like, they can't tell I'm crying, but it's fine.
Oh, man.
So, I mean, it comes with the territory. You care a lot about it. You're going to feel some type of way and it happens.
I hate to say it, because I could be smeared for however I say this, but I just mean it generally. I think seeing that emotion is good for the sport. I don't know that I would say like it needed to happen. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I need to say like, oh, that hole should make people cry. That's not what I'm trying to imply. But I think rawness and realness is something that translates so well to the fans. And whether you love or are rooting for somebody else, I think it's an interesting moment where the sport goes, wow. Like, people actually care a lot about throwing a Frisbee, right? And so that's pretty cool to see in that aspect. So that's all I got, guys. I'm serious. I'm done on that one.
Nice.
Nobody else? I took it all?
Yeah.
I got a question.
Ben's
I got a question.
Speak up.
So yeah, I mentioned this earlier in the show, but last year at the Open at Austin, you finished 16th. Now I think it was just a Harvey Pennick for that tournament specifically, but just talk to us about just kind of what do you think this year, why you played so well? What was the mindset shift, or was it just you just had better luck, more skill? What was it?
I mean, there's a few things. I remember last year around that time, my putt was really bad. I was having a really bad putting weekend. And also during that particular stretch of a few tournaments, I was kind of struggling with some of my forehands. So I think I picked up a lot of extra OB strokes because I was just shanking some forehands. So I think it was, a combination of kind of all of the skills being just like a little bit better. Say my putting was kind of up and down this weekend. I definitely missed a lot of short putts, but just in general. And then a few holes definitely had a little bit better game plan, being a little bit less trying to throw, the perfect shot to get the max distance and just prioritizing staying in bounds and then trusting myself to be able to, get the distance accomplished on subsequent shots.
And do you think adding Sprinkle Valley to Harvey Pennick, do you think Sprinkle Valley kind of played better to your game? Was that a good addition for you specifically?
I feel like I played Sprinkle Valley so horribly, but I do think it's a great balance to Harvey because there's such different style courses, and I love seeing that for an Elite Plus event. And, we harped on Hole 18 so much, but I think Sprinkle Valley is an incredible venue. They've done such a good job with that property. I think the course in general flows really well. The tee pads are great. The walking pads are great. They've cleared out brush in the rough so you can actually scramble. The lines are really hard, but they're really fair, and it makes you, really think about what route you want to take, how much you want to bite off. I think the course and the venue and having the Austin Beer Works there and the food trucks and the spectator experience. I heard spectators all weekend just raving about how they could follow cards and see everything. They could camp out in one spot and see a whole bunch of different things. So I think, we're being harsh on Hole 18, but I think the venue, all in all, is incredible, and I'm really glad we have it on tour now.
Yeah, and so not Sprinkle Valley, but you had a scorching hot round. How good did that feel? Did that just like I think it was round 3, right? It just was everything just flowing, like we call it, like you're in the flow. Is that what it was, or how did it feel?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I felt like me and Tyler was caddying for me. Like we were having a really good back and forth of him kind of helping me adjust for the wind because it was very different than what I practiced. And there were several shots where I kind of I knew the adjustment I needed to make, but it wasn't a shot I had planned to do. And having him kind of be really confident that yes, that's the right choice. and kind of talking through all of the shots. Like we got into a really good flow there. And then I was just like, I found that level of focus so I could like see the line I wanted, not feel too like worried about it, and then just hit it. And then like every time I wasn't really thinking about the streak as it was happening. I was just thinking about like, okay, what do I need to do for the next shot? What do I need to focus on for this next section of holes? And it all just kind of came together.
Yeah. I mean, I think, was it on live coverage or whatever, but like where you kind of had is it the shoulder shrug or the kind of like, hey, I felt like it was like I can't miss. Like sometimes it happens.
There's a meme out there.
Yeah. Oh, really?
The Michael Jordan shrug. Michael Jordan shrug, your shrug. Like, I guess sometimes they just go in.
Sometimes you can't miss.
I mean, we saw like I definitely didn't have the same luck on 18 the following day. So, it was kind of hit early, but then I got up there and I was like, oh, actually, there's a really nice line. I'm just going to throw the same disc, and was hoping to get maybe a putt. Because honestly, 18, I'm so happy with the par there. And then to like just see it scoot on up to the basket. It just happened to be 350, which is like the perfect distance for that hole. So it just got a little lucky there, I guess.
Well, that was awesome. It's fun to see, and you crushed it. And the strokes you earned on that day, it's a 4-round tournament. Strokes you earned on that day helped you seal the win, obviously, in round 4. So, yeah, unless anyone else has something, I know we've kept you on for quite a while, but you've had a lot of insights.
And we appreciate it.
Yeah, what an incredible start to the year. We're going to keep following along, and I suppose we probably all think you're going to have another win, if not a bunch more podiums. So
we're picking Holyn for a lock. Our game requires us to pick Holyn for a lock from here on out, because that's a guaranteed top 10 finish. So we'll go with that.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
All right, cool.
Awesome.
We appreciate it, Holyn. We'll catch you another time.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Peace out.
Thank you.
Holyn Handley doing it.
Okay. Here's my take on hole 18, because we
All right,
finally get
spit
to
it
talk
out.
about
Yes,
it.
spit
We finally
it
get to
out.
talk about it now.
Itching for this.
Go.
Okay, so I will say I totally understand her take with it, with being a huge backup. That's definitely something that needs to be addressed. Just however you design a hole, is you can't have that. Like one of the biggest holes, kind of notorious for that, is hole 12 and hole 14 over at Northwood Black during the Ledgestone tournament. So my thought with hole 18 is I like really hard shots. I like holes that are challenging, right? I don't like that hole as a hole 18. So put that as like a hole 12 or 13 or 14. I don't love it as a hole 18. But at the same time, and now I'm kind of slightly leaning against, or like differing my own opinion, because
Staggered stance.
Yeah, I have a staggered stance to my own stance.
To your own.
I will say I do appreciate that it's not the hole 18 that finishes the tournament, but I don't love it as a hole 18.
Imagine it as a finishing hole.
I think that would be a horrible finishing hole. Like
imagine
that
though.
Like,
imagine that playing out, and Kristen being in second and almost winning, and then going OB.
Imagine winning.
You could literally be like eight strokes
Yeah.
behind somebody and be like, I
fifth
could
card.
win.
You could win.
Someone
you
from
could
the
win
fifth
from
card birdies
fourth
and
card.
wins.
Yeah. Yeah, like imagine if someone threw it in for, well, I don't know if you could throw it in for eagle, but imagine if someone threw it in for eagle. And
it could be. They were hitting the basket. They were hitting the basket for eagle.
Yeah, imagine getting me like 7 or 8 strokes, and then just like, oh, I won the tournament. Like, I think, I mean, that'd be pretty sweet. If
I don't know if I love that, but it would also be hilarious.
Yeah,
we'd all say how bad
hilarious.
it was.
Yeah,
I think that's
hilarious.
a fair take, but Nick, I think just my summary on it is like, let the course designers figure out what they want to do with it. My only stance on this is that the players all had the same exact hole. I've seen a lot of like, well, it's unfortunate that hole 18 did that to Kristen. And I'm thinking, they're like, she took 21 strokes on that hole, and she almost still won it. And I go, and this was what Holyn said. Yeah, but everybody went over a lot on that hole. So kind of just wash it. It's not like, oh, Kristen just spotted everybody 8 strokes. That's not true. Yeah. They all did the same thing, more or less. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good for Kristen. I will give her this. She fought through adversity. She almost won it. So there you go.
Yeah, and Kristen made some, how am I going to say this, legitimate errors on that hole that are not excusable as well.
True.
right? So in other words, some of it you can chalk up to saying, man, that design was a little bit too quirky and doesn't really meet the field. Like, so you could say that, right? And be like, maybe that did cost some strokes on average. I think it's clear on the field it did, right? Like the stats kind of tell us that. But I'm just saying you can't just look at it in a microcosm. I mean, Kristen threw out of bounds on the tee shot in round 2. Like, is that bad hole design? Like,
No,
right?
just bad shot shape or
Right.
selection.
So I'm just saying you kind of have to like wash that out. Anyway, with that being said, I think I loved the challenge. And so my overall reaction is like, hey, everybody, including some of the FPO field, don't overreact to like, this is awful. At the same time, it clearly needs tweaks. Statistically, unless you want to make it a par 6 or 7, and I'm being sarcastic, like it's obviously not like balanced properly.
But the
Like,
problem
how-
with that
you
is
know-
then somebody still gets a 3 or a 4. It's like, that's like not real.
Which is why you probably need to make some adjustments so that kind of normalizes. That's what I'm saying. So I don't want to just make adjustments to try to bring the tail of the field up. You want to adjust it so you still get score separation. And you heard some comments from Holyn and other people about different ideas to kind of try to adjust for that. And so I would just be like, of course it needs adjustment. I don't like I think the people who say it doesn't need adjustment, what they're actually meaning to say is, I love a really hard hole that the FPO field has to figure out how to play. In that sentiment, I would say I agree. But to then say, therefore, it needs no changes just probably doesn't feel right to me. Like, it obviously needs some changes.
Ben, any thoughts to close it out on 18?
One thought. I think the way to fix it is just like Holyn said, put a drop zone on top of the hill or right over it, and I think it's a good hole. No one's angry because you could still get punished and you could still get the 8, but like you at least have a good opportunity once you go. Let's say you're just like shooting for 6 at that drop zone. Like takes skill to still stick the island, but at least you're looking at the basket. I think that'll easily fix it and not cause as much uproar.
All right, we're pretty much to the end. You guys went long last week, didn't you? Or no?
We went a little bit long, right? So yeah, we need to.
Here's what I want to say: yes or no, positive feeling, neutral, or negative. Kyle Klein's reaction after almost every throw that didn't go in the basket.
I can't answer because I don't really.
You didn't watch?
No, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think I really
anybody
saw all
that
his
watched.
reactions.
I know I've seen a little bit of this online. I had my own personal
didn't-
feeling on it. Josh,
Was
did you see?
Was it whiny?
Okay. I don't want to be staggered stance.
Yeah, it
was
wasn't
whiny.
like wine. Okay, I didn't think it was
It
whiny.
came
I
off
think
that
that's
way. It came
maybe.
off that way.
I
after
think
every shot that didn't go in the basket.
Okay.
Is it like him blaming himself?
No,
or
this
him
is
blaming
more
the
like that's
basket?
like Kyle.
It was like him
Klein's,
blaming himself, but it looked very like if only I just did just very 95% of the shots, and it was like people were commenting on it. I wanted
Just
to
a
get your
little
perspective.
animated.
Yeah.
To himself, but the
Yeah.
cameras kept being on him, and no other players are really doing that. It was only him.
Yeah, that's his personality and style, I think. But anyway,
he needs a little positivity in his life.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I understand what you're saying, but honestly, the part of that is saying, like, think of Kyle, like he's not very
He's still
like
19.
outspoken. Yeah, but he's also not very outspoken or
He's not.
charismatic. No, he's older than 19.
I'm like, what?
I'm
He's
just
young
saying, like
compared to us,
he
but-
used to be the young kid on tour, you know.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
still-
Anyways, I
but
did
anyway.
see some comments on that. I didn't bring that up out of thin air. Like, and I felt a little similar. Like, I just remember talking to my kids in front of them. I'm like, listen, your mental game needs to be a little bit tougher than that. Like, he might just feel like he's commenting on like, hey, next time miss a little left or right or here, but it had such a negative perspective to it the way he was handling it. Anyways,
Well, next time
and
text Joey Tamale his caddy
and
and
just
tell
be like,
him
hey,
to,
tell him a
yes.
joke or something. Yeah, it was getting too serious for him.
I'll say like that's something I also struggle with. Like on the course is I tend to kind of be like, Ben, are you kidding me? Like, how did you just do that? Like out loud and like. Personally, it's like, it's good to it helps me get the frustrations out, complaining to myself. I'm not complaining like this is such a dumb course. I'm complaining to myself. But then like I also understand optically it looks back. So I also understand where he's coming from. It's something I still need to work on. Like optically, it's not fun when every time you hit first available, they're like, you're like, bro, are you kidding me? How did I just do that? Like, but it's just natural human nature. But I understand that like it's not a good look.
I'm not faulting him.
I think
he's the pro.
I think, Ben, it actually impacts performance That's my take. I think it literally impacts your own mental game.
Yeah,
It
I think
does.
so too.
I think
So
he
it's
was
not even
coming
just
through
like you
clutch.
want to air it out. It's like, yeah, it's something about shift your mindset to where like it's laser
Yeah.
focused. So an error is an error and
Go
you
to your
acknowledge
happy
it, but
place.
it's so like, yeah, but either that or it's just so business, right? It's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
there's an error. What are we going to do to solve that?
Yeah, I got it. Like Matt's always said, which is what I'm trying to adopt. Like once it's out of, or Ella Hansen even said a few weeks ago, like once it's out of your hands, just
It's
like
over.
it is what it is, and just
Yeah, just
keep
solve the
moving.
next.
Like, all right,
Yeah, solve the
I
next
missed that
challenge.
time, and next time, like
Yeah,
it just
solve it.
disc golf. You're
I-
always gonna do bad. You're always gonna do good.
But I will say, I don't know if I felt like what I saw with Kyle was
I
that.
didn't even
Was
realize
that.
it.
Well,
Honestly.
there's people who did. I wanted to put that out there prompt. I'm glad
Yeah,
to hear
that's
Josh
fine.
and Nick or whoever is feeling a little bit differently about it. That's totally fair. This is staggered stance.
I think
Um,
you're also
I wanna-
you're also going to see it a little bit more kind of going into the final round.
But let
right?
me-
Going
but
into the
let me
final
compare
6
it.
holes, 8 holes, 9 holes.
but let me
right? You're gonna
compare it
see
with the guy who
yeah.
won, Nicholas Zantala. Did
Very
you see?
different
Now, I'm not.
demeanor, though. You have European versus an
Wow.
American. Just right there in and of itself is a super different demeanor.
But
It's
here's my
true.
point. He
Yeah.
didn't. He came in so clutch. Every shot was just very
Yeah.
stoic. Calvin Klein. We're talking Kyle Klein and Calvin Heimberg. Sorry, Calvin Heimberg. I will say, okay, there's one other player I will point out as doing this a little bit. Paul McBeth.
Yep.
Okay.
He's
And
more
I also
animated.
have Paul McBeth in here quick too, right before we close out as an actual talking point, but I didn't mean to go down this road, but Paul McBeth does this a little bit too. You'll see him kind of punch his fist and be like, come on, like one of those.
Yeah.
Anyways, we don't need to harp on it. I just think
yeah, but
there's,
he's the GOAT, so he can do whatever
Yeah,
he
he
wants.
can do
I think that's
Yeah,
fine. Like
exactly.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Whatever
Alright.
he does is okay.
So Paul McBeth, we have 30 seconds each. Like, what's the storyline for Paul this year? In it to win it. Will he get a win? Is it looking good, yes or no, after the first 3 events?
Yes.
Ben.
My take is have your first child and then you'll be goated at disc golf again.
Yeah. Okay. I think, yes, he's going to get a win. And I'm just going to say, not that far off of what he said. I think even an interview here.
He'll get a win.
Like, he has to find a way to, like, string together consistent rounds. When that happens, he's going to get a win. And I know maybe that's a simple statement, but, like, he's clearly throwing fine. But for some reason, then he has, like, he can't put 3 or 4 rounds together.
Yeah.
So
Like
I would
this
like to
tournament,
see
he'd
him
probably
get a
say
win.
he probably put 1.5 rounds together. Like the 3rd round, he obviously played incredible. The 4th round, he played okay. The first 2 rounds, he did not play
yeah,
well.
but
to
go
his
back to
standards, right?
every tournament this year.
Yes.
That's exactly the story.
And that still put him in 6th place, right? 3rd place at Supreme Plate Open. And Waco, 12th place, maybe just outside of the top 10, I think. I think he's right there with it. His putting looks great right now. Throwing wise, I think it looks really good. Better than last year. I think his play looks better than last year right now.
Oh, yeah. That's why I'm saying I think he can get a win.
And then what? We have Music City Open coming up in 2 weeks.
Yep.
So tournament, he got podium last year.
All
All
right.
right.
So we know who you're going to be picking when we do next week's
I probably will.
picks.
I probably will pick him for Music
All right.
City. It's tough though
Last-
because I kind of want to pick Simon for the 3-peat, but we'll see.
Okay, last prompt, and then we'll close out. The DGPT is not hosting an event at Jonesboro. So are we missing Jonesboro? Are you missing Jonesboro?
It's this weekend.
Yeah?
You know what? I will say I miss it because we're used to having it. What I mean is the tradition side of it is like what the heck? Like we should be there. I don't know if that event had a lot of like extra things that makes me want it, but like I do remember the course, the big shots, the throws, and so yeah, I
enjoy
miss
watching
it.
that tournament.
I think
I
the
miss
issue
it.
was no one attended it. I think when
It's
I'm
location,
talking to,
yes.
to tour,
Yeah,
touring
but I miss-
pros,
but
they're all
sure.
like,
Welcome to
They're-
almost
they're
every
telling me,
single
like,
good course.
It's
lead
true.
Location
card.
sucks.
I
Yeah.
do wish it
Yeah.
was there though. I do
Like Maple has a
100%.
huge advantage just because, you can be an hour and a half, Maine, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Vermont, and you can get to Maple Hill and watch the MVP Open. So anyways, thank you everybody for tuning in to episode 230 of Staggered Stance. Huge shout out to Titan Disc Golf, TitanDiscGolf.com, Hooligan Discs for sponsoring the Pop Drop Lock segment that we do, our game. Definitely go on to popdroplock.com and sign up and get your picks ready for Music City Open. Be on the lookout for players, what they're doing, who's dropping out, who's injured, all that good stuff, and try to win in the standings. More than likely you're gonna beat me, but go ahead and try to beat Matt, Ben, and Josh. So everybody tell someone you love them this week. We'll catch you guys all in the next one.
Exacerbate. Did I say it right? Exacerbate.
No, it's exasperate.
No,
We
this
know
is
right.
No,
Berate.
Ben, it's
Berate.
exacerbate.
Exasperate.
No, it's not.
Exacerbate.
No,
I didn't go to college. I don't know.
It's like this weird
Ben.
word where I want to say
I don't know if
exasperate.
Ben's trolling everybody
Hey,
now, but it's
like,
exacerbate.
comment,
with
subscribe.
an
but also
what's the word?
I
comment
read
how
exasperate.
comment
I
the
read
dictionary.
irritate. Okay, I thought it was
Thank you.
irritate or
And have a good
Exasperate.
night.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
feel like it's something else. That's why I feel like what Ben is saying
Wait,
is closer.
Google saying tip, similar sounding words. Exasperate sometimes confuses exasperate.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look it up. It's exasperate. I can't do it.
I can tell you now, it's exacerbate, which means to make
Perfect.
something worse. To make something
That's
worse.
okay. That's what
I
it is.
thought irritate. That I assumed exasperate because it's not irritate. I thought like irritate.
All right. So this weekend coming is no event, but we will have a show, and this is the very end. You get this at the very end. Niklas Antela should be on as an interview. He was traveling today, didn't feel good with service, whether it was a phone call or video while he was traveling. He said he's committed to being on next week, so we'll see if that happens. But stay tuned,
Finnish
everybody.
cowboy.
Yep, the Finnish cowboy. I love
Have a
it.
good
All
night.
right. Until next time, everybody. We'll catch you out there. Peace
Bye.
out.